Okay, this is just a little introduction to my little game of Macross Tactics, and just wanted to kind of showcase the rules, get some feedback. This is the little city portion that your team of pilots are going to be defending, and it's the way it works is everyone's going to make a pilot at the beginning. So the pilot's very simple to make. Essentially, you have you choose your gunnery, reflex, or piloting skills. They need to equal 10. So for this argument's sake, I've got 4, 1, and 5. Basically, the gunnery you can see is red, reflex is orange, and pilot's green, so it corresponds to these squares. This is the different modes that your Veritech fighter can be in. Batloid, Guardian, Jet, and you'll see that you have different bonuses that will go to each mode. Also, your people, that are familiar with they can remember basically the way that the armor and the internals worked for the Mospita game that we did earlier. It was basically these Veritechs have 16-16. So this is just a way to keep track of how much damage it's taking. I'll go over that later. This is your weapons. I go over that later, and then missiles, which I'll go over later too. So back to these gunnery, reflex, and piloting skills. For every point that you have, so gunnery 4 points, you can then pick basically an ability that goes with it. So if you come over here, and then there's the gunnery, which is the red, and it was 4, I think. 4. So basically, you'll be able to pick 4 of these skills. Now these ones here, the bullet swarm and the sharpshooter, you can kind of see up here it has 2 of these symbols. That means it takes 2 points, right? So I could take, say, rifle specialist and missile specialist and sharpshooter. So then I would take that, and then that would come over here, and then I'd go over to reflex 1, so I get to choose one of these. So obviously these ones I can't pick at all, so let's go, flowing dodge. So take that and put it over here. And then finally the move, I got 5, right? So I can pick, let's do combat roll and evasion and guardian specialist, just for argument's sake. So this becomes now your pool of abilities, but I've got 7 total. Oops, and we'll get rid of this one. So everyone also gets this other bonus ability. So the way it works is that I have 7 now abilities here to choose from, but you can only ever have 3 active at a time. So I would choose, say, like 1, 2, and 3. So you kind of like set up how you want your abilities for that turn, because each turn you can swap these out. So that's how you make a character, essentially. And then finally you're going to want to choose the types of missiles that you have. Your Veritech comes with 4 hard points, so you basically, these are the 3 different types, and you're just going to add, say I want you get 5 missiles per hard point for this one, so say I want 2 of those, gives me 10. And then I don't want any long-range missiles, but I want 2 short-range missiles. So that'd be like one way to do it. Or, obviously you could do all short-range missiles, right? Then you're going to have 12, and you're going to have 0 and 0. So that's up to you. There's advantages. You can see the damage in the range here. That is how you want to do it. So the way that combat works, so on your turn, you first choose your mode that you want to be in. For argument's sake, we will be in Batloid mode. So the way it works is you're going to, not pick that up. At the beginning of your turn, you select your mode, and then you roll your dice. So I'll just give another roll just for... So, and then you need to assign these are your bonuses that you can apply. So if I'm in Batloid, I get to go, let's say I want to be more offensive. If these rolls suck. 4, and then 4 move. And then, man, these are horrible rules. Okay, so these are bonuses that you get to apply. So fast forward to when you want to shoot someone. Say you're this fellow right here, and he wants to shoot this fellow right here. So the way it works is that you can fire and move, or move and fire. So if you want to measure the distance, you just do the line tool, and then you just go between the two, right? So that's 22. So your rifle has a range of 8, and that's kind of like a range basically increment. So that would be between your 2 and 3 ranges, right? Because 3 is 24. So therefore, he can fire at that person. You can go up to 4. So the way that it would work is I would then roll. Basically, the range works. Basically, if you're close range, which is 8, then you get to roll 4 dice. If you're to 16, you get to roll 3 dice. And then if you're under 24, it's 2 dice. And finally, under 32, it is 1 dice. That kind of, it's basically the how hard it is to hit somebody, and also like the penetration of your ammo. So, like we said, this guy is 22. He's going to be, then you're going to roll 2 dice. And then what you're going to do is you're going to roll these 2 dice. You're going to add your gunnery skill, which is 4. And then you're going to use your first attack bonus, which is 2. Right, so it's 6 plus any bonuses you have from your abilities, which this person doesn't have any. And then these dice. So I'm going to roll. So just make things simple. I have this 20 over here, which I can just set to the bonus. So I select my dice, I roll my dice, then I highlight them, and you can see it adds it up 8, right? That's going to go against the defense of the pod, and defense is always 2. He's going to roll, and then he's going to add a number, which the players don't know, basically is their defense roll bonus. So this is 11 plus whatever that is. So basically you miss. So what you would do is you subtract an ammo, and you would flip one of your guns for temperature. So your gun, as you fire it, it builds temperature. But say you did hit, then you would apply the damage, and the way it works is, if you can see this right here, depending on how much you beat it by, different effects take place. But we can go on that later. So for the heat, which I touched on earlier, basically the way it works is every time you fire your rifle, you start to build up heat. And then once you get to this red zone here, then you have a problem where your gun might start to kind of override and just go into like safety cooldown. So the way it works is that when you're about to fire in this red zone, you just roll one of your dice, and as long as it beats this number, you're fine, you can fire. But if it doesn't beat it, then it basically kicks into cooldown, and you have to wait for it to cool down into the green zone at least. So if you don't fire for a turn, you get this cooling, which cools 3 for the GU11. Right, so say I don't fire it, I cool down. If I don't fire it again, it's going to cool down right down to the zone. So basically, as long as you kind of give it a little rest now and again, you should be fine. The lasers work a little bit different in that what you do is you basically select how much power you want to give your laser shot. So the damage here is 2x. This is what it's, so if I do a little bit of power, it's 2 damage. If I do a little bit more power, right, 4 damage. And if I do maximum power, it's 6. But it only cools 1 per turn, so it takes a little bit longer to cool down. But doesn't have ammo, so it's kind of like a, just a different kind of mechanic. And the range isn't super great, right? It only goes up to 20, so like maximum range of the laser is only going to be about there. Okay, so now the mechanics for cover. This is set up here for that. As you can see, this right here is a situation where somebody is in cover. So the best way to do it is you draw a line. If you go center to center and it goes through an obstacle, that person's considered in cover, and you can hit them if you can make it from any point on that token to any point on the other token, right? So you see how there's no objects there, but if I go center to center, it clips through the building. So that way we tell that these people are on cover here. So basically it allows them to fire, but not you get a negative to your firing roll. Another example of a mechanic is here. If something is not in visible sight, it comes basically a radar contact. So you can see unknown token, unknown token, unknown token. And then if you basically to see what you can see, you just kind of put into the token and see how I can see the officer's battle pod through the buildings. So that's why that guy's visible. But nobody else is really visible from the sky, so that's why they're all unknown. So it's just an interesting little mechanic. Basically allows me to keep track of the tokens with you guys not knowing exactly what they are until you get eyes on. So that's pretty much that. Missiles, they work instead of rolling like we did earlier here before, you basically just add your bonus and your gunnery and 10. So missiles, since they're guided, you don't really get to roll anything. It's just like 10 plus this with this. So say I fired a missile with my next attack, it'd be 1, which is 5, so 15. So then they would try to dodge 15, and with 2 dice, it can happen. So then he gets hit by a missile. So that's the way it works. If you can see here, we have the facing token. So basically, if you want to pick up, you can change your facing. Unfortunately, the way the mechanics are, I can only have a good back picture for these Veritex, so you're just going to have to trust the facing token for which way it's going. And the other thing is, on your turn, you get basically from moving, you get a free move, which is equal to your piloting skill. Right, so my free move would be 5. So say I want to go, I can go to here. Right, 5. So I can, good habit to get into is basically click, and then it gives you an idea where to go. Boop. And then, so that's my free move, and then I get to move basically this bonus move, right, which is 4, because that's the dice that I put into it. So I'll get to move another 4, which will put me over to here. So 4 right there. So there. So that would make my shots a lot closer. Right now, say I moved first and then I fired. Now I am 13, so I'm within 2, right? Which means I get to roll 3 of these dice over here versus their 2. So then I would get a 19 versus a 6. So 19 versus a 6 is going to be 13 over, right? So therefore, all 3 of my rounds are going to hit, and then they're going to get a stun and an extra hard hit. So basically, the stun roll is a simple: you roll it, and if it's 4, 5 is 6, then you're not stunned. If it's 1, 2, or 3, you're stunned. So he would be stunned. So he would now lose his next turn. So, anyways, I think that's most of the mechanics. I just wanted to give a brief overview of the game, and if you have any questions, let me know.